Hi, I'm Diana Young, and I'm the author of the book, Think Like Your Dog and Enjoy the Rewards. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the idea of stopping bullets, or the idea of becoming our dog's own personal Secret Service agent. So I'll give you a couple of descriptions, try to paint a picture of what I'm talking about here today, and maybe you can relate to it in your own life when you're out in the world walking your dog or taking it to different activities, different places. So recently I was teaching a class with a client of mine down on the beach in West Seattle. It was a beautiful sunny day, and there was a lot of people out at the beach. There was rollerbladers, there was joggers, there was bicyclists, there was mom pushing kids in strollers. There was a lot of activity and action down on the beach this day. And so the client of mine that I was working with had a 12-week-old puppy at the time. And a puppy, specifically, is just a magnet for everybody. Everybody wants to come and touch a puppy, play with the puppy, pet the puppy, hug the puppy. And as I was with my client that day, working with the puppy, we could see there was a lot of anxiety building up in the dog. A lot of people were just coming out of the woodwork and accosting this puppy in a friendly way, but nonetheless accosting this puppy. And the dog felt really vulnerable, and because of its age, because of its size, really unable to do anything about it. Some dogs like the presence of strangers petting and playing with them. Some dogs just tolerate it, and some dogs won't tolerate it at all. And so my client noticed this as well, and she asked, what could we do about this? And I explained to her what we needed to do to fix the problem, but better than just fixing the problem that day is that when we take on the position of pack security for our dogs, that elevates us into a leadership role. And ultimately, that's where we need to be with our dogs. We need to be in the leadership role. And one thing we can do to achieve that is being in charge and being in charge of all pack security. So the client of mine were down on the beach that day, and a lot of people were accosting the puppy. And so we saw a couple coming towards us down the beach, and the gentleman was about 6'3", 6'4", pretty imposing guy, and the woman he was with, she was a pretty large gal herself, and together they looked like a force to be reckoned with. And so I noticed that this couple noticed the puppy as well, and they made a course correction and beeline and were headed directly towards the puppy because, of course, they wanted to pet and play with it too. So this was an opportunity for my client, and she took it. She stood up and she stepped in front of the puppy. She put her hand up and nicely asked these guys to not touch the puppy. She explained that the puppy was in training that day. She appreciated their kindness and that they wanted to pet the puppy. She thanked them for that, but again, she said, no, not today, the puppy's in training. Well, you should have seen the look on the puppy's face. He looked directly up at his handler, and it was as if, stress was taken off his shoulders. He began to relax in the idea that anybody and everyone couldn't just accost him at any time. So we put this to the test, and over the course of the next 60 minutes, we encountered about 8 more people. Again, nice intent. These people wanted to play with the puppy, wanted to greet the puppy, friendly intent, of course, but each and every repetition, the owner stood up, put her hand out, said, "Please don't pet my puppy," explained the puppy's in training. And people respected this, and by the end of the hour's time of our training class, you could see that the puppy's confidence was starting to build, that the stress and anxiety we had seen an hour ago was starting to dissipate. Every time a new person would approach the puppy and the handler, the puppy would look up at its owner to see as if, what is she going to do next? And each and every repetition, the owner stopped a speeding bullet, stopped the stranger from accosting her puppy. Even if it was in a friendly way, it's still being accosted. So now I'd like to paint another picture for you. If you think of the President of the United States and the first family, They are protected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by a team of Secret Service agents. Anywhere they go in the world, anything they're doing, they always have protection. So they are able to move freely, to move at ease, to move comfortably, and not have to worry about their own security. That job falls to the team of the Secret Service agents. So what we want to do to help elevate ourselves in the leadership role for our dog, we also want to decrease any anxiety that our dog or puppy might have. We want to step up and take the role of pack security. So next time you're out in the world with your dog, whether it's strangers that approach you or strange dogs on the street that approach you, do the same thing. Step forward, put your hand out, and ask people not to touch your dog. Let them know your dog's in training. You appreciate their friendly gesture, but nonetheless, you're going to provide pack security for your dog. Hi, I'm Diana Young, and today I'm here with Barbara and 5-year-old Sunny, the cattle dog, and we're going to talk about some fear-based aggression issues that she's been experiencing with Sunny. Now, one of the things that jumped out at me in your email was 3 years old. Although Sunny's 5 today, but you mentioned this really sort of came to a head when he was 3.
That's right.
And so I wanted to touch on that because that's an important age for all dogs, not just a dog that might be having a fear-based aggression problem. Create some generalities a little bit around this. Dogs are mentally mature between 2.5 and 3. 3 usually being the magic number. So where prior to that, he was an adolescent, he was a teenager, and prior to that, he was a puppy, where he doesn't have the wherewithal at those ages that he does when he becomes a 3-year-old, fully mature male adult. And whether he's an intact male, that doesn't necessarily really play a role. Being intact could could magnify a problem perhaps if we had one, but it doesn't really matter. He's still becoming mentally mature at 3. And so that's when you kind of said this all sort of came to a head, which would make sense to me. That's when it shows itself to you that it's become a problem. And what I usually hear from people with similar issues is, gosh, I started to see this. It started to show itself a little bit when he was around 2.5, and I really try to get to, if they can, go back in their mind and try to distinguish what age it really was real prominent for them. And it sounds like it's 3 for you, which makes sense.
It does.
3 on the dot, he's mentally mature. So some of the issues you talked about is fear-based aggression towards men is a big one for you. You also mentioned that when you take him exercising, that you like to exercise him on different trails. And I'm familiar with a lot of those trails if they're here on Camino Island. And so some of the issues I can see playing out in my mind that could magnify this problem even more for him, push his comfort level even further, make him even more uncomfortable, magnify the problem, is, these trails. So you're in the woods, you're exercising on the trails, perhaps he's walking either quite a bit in front of you or even maybe a little front of your leg. So he's in front of you. Now a stranger, because you're in the woods, a stranger will come around the corner and pop out of nowhere as far as he's concerned. And now you have to pass the stranger on the trail. And the trails are maybe 3 or 4 feet wide. They're not that wide, most of them anyway. And so that is uncomfortable for him. Now he has to pass this stranger in a frontal to each other, coming head on, straight on. Now, if someone's walking towards you straight on, making direct eye contact with you, that's rather imposing. And if this is the normal average stranger, they're probably making direct eye contact with Sunny. This is a strange dog. They don't know it. They don't know what Sunny's all about. They're probably making direct eye contact with him more than you even. And so if they are, that's even more imposing for him. Now he has to pass this stranger front on. And so we want to put him in a position to build confidence in him, not push him further outside his comfort level. So we don't want to put him in that position for failure. Now, the other thing that you mentioned is that you like to walk him on this harness.
Right.
So the harness, and I noticed earlier when you had the harness that he had kind of a unique reaction to the harness when you had it in your hand and were moving it around and showing it to me. It appeared to me as though this harness makes him uncomfortable.
I believe it does.
Okay, so that's something we want to pay attention to, and if we're able to figure out why, that would be helpful for us as well. So he'll allow you to put it on, but it's not his favorite, right? So will he allow you to put on his regular, I see you have a choke collar on him, you also have a flat collar on him today as well.
Right.
And he's comfortable with you putting either of those on?
Yes, he is.
Does he ever show uncomfortable or discomfort like he does with the harness?
No.
So that might be a message to you. We're not sure, it is a message, but we're not sure what it is. We just got to figure out what that is. He's uncomfortable with the harness, and I don't know yet because we haven't had enough time to work together, but I'm wondering if he feels insecure wearing that harness.
I never thought about insecurity.
Right, right. Now, one of the things you had mentioned is you don't like the training collar so much, the implementation of it, that you even worried about, maybe it's causing him discomfort of some sort.
I don't.
Is that true?
I don't like the fact that he could choke himself if he becomes aggressive or if he lunges.
Okay.
He starts to cough, and that.
So that makes you uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So we might want to have an opportunity to outfit him with several different types and styles of different training collars and see what's going to work best for him. What I'm worried about is if he feels insecure wearing that harness. And the reason I could see this, and it's sort of playing out in my head, when a dog's wearing a training collar of any sort, it doesn't matter what kind it is or style it is, you're usually giving him direction.
Right.
I've seen you do that with this training collar while he's been here. He's getting direction by you. You've given him direction where you've wanted him to walk with you, travel with you. You've given him direction where you've wanted to have him come in and sit next to you. You've given him direction with this collar to go into a sit. And all of those things are a little bit more challenging with the harness. Now, the harnesses were designed to for dogs to pull things. If we've all seen, let's say, dogs in Alaska, the Iditarod, they're pulling, right? They're pulling like crazy. They're pulling sleds. They're all wearing harnesses. So harnesses are designed to encourage our dog to pull. So that is an element of your problem. It's only part of the problem. So when he's lunging at people on the trails, he's wearing an apparatus that is designed for him to pull.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So that's just one element of the problem. Now, with the harness, you aren't able to give him as much finely, what's the word I'm looking for? The guidance, the structure, the direction. The same direction that you've been able to give him today with his training collar and leash, you're not be able to as finely tuned wearing the harness.
Right.
So a dog that has fear-based aggression is insecure. He's insecure about something, and he's probably, if we dig deep enough, he's probably insecure about a lot of things, right? And so we're gonna have to dig deeper and figure out what some of those things are. We already know one is men. So if he's insecure about some things, the best thing we could do for him is add as much security as possible. So I think if you can reframe it in your own mind, because you have a negative context that you've developed about a training collar. You're the driver of the car. You want to be the driver of the car. You want to be the driver of Sunny. So you want an apparatus that is a better steering wheel for Sunny, where the harness isn't. The harness is designed for him to pull. So you also, when you're out in the world with Sunny, you want to be his Secret Service agent, if you will. So you're out there in the world, you're encountering people on your walks, you're encountering people on the trails, maybe other dogs, people on skateboards, bicycles. You want him to have the feeling that you're taking care of any security issues. He doesn't have to worry about them. If he feels he has to worry about them, he will. And a dog that is insecure will show fear-based aggression. See what I mean?
Yes.
So it's sort of a domino effect. So a training collar, and we can outfit them with several different kinds until we find that one that works for you and for Sunny.
That would be great.
2, we want to, at least for now, get rid of the harness.
Okay.
So for example, when I'm working with some of my own dogs and I like to ride a bike with them, I'll put them on a harness when I'm riding a bike. But if I need to dial into them, do some obedience or some work with them, I'll put them on a training collar. So the harness is designed to pull, and on the bike, that's okay. But when we need to work together, if I need to communicate messages to them, so his aggression towards men, we're gonna need to communicate messages to him that that's not okay. We're gonna want a device that's gonna do better sending our messages to him. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
So we're gonna have to do some work together out in the field. We're gonna set up some scenarios, and what we wanna do is desensitize him to primarily men, because that's where he has the biggest problem.
Right.
And get him in where he's feeling more confident with your control of him and the situation in men. And when he has gone to a level that he has more confidence, we will then integrate him back to the running trails.
Okay.
And back into general populace, if you will. But right now we want to calm down the time bomb that's brewing underneath all of this, the potential liability, because fear-based aggression is the most hazardous type of aggression. A dog that's their aggression is based in confidence is a lot less dangerous than a dog that his aggression is based in fear. Well, thanks for coming today, Barbara, and I look forward to working with you and Sunny.
Thanks so much.
Whether your dog is a service dog, a hunting dog, or lifelong companion, socialization is the idea of imprinting on your dog their mind of resource material.